dear friends. No sound. Hang on. There. Good morning. Sound now? Great. Thank you. My apologies to those of you that tried to get in earlier. I was sitting here with everything going on the wrong meeting. So thank you, Melanie, for cluing me in. So my name's Robert Beatty. I'm broadcasting this or doing this from a tent in my backyard in Beaverton. This broadcast is part of the Portland Insight Meditation Community. We've been building the community since 1979, I guess. And we have a wonderful center that we haven't been to in a while. I will be going there today for a while, which is nice to look forward to. So, here we are, Friday morning, the 22nd of May, I guess it is. It's good to keep oriented by numbers because it does feel a bit like it's the same day again and again. So a poem. I have a poem, and hello to those of you joining us on YouTube and Facebook. I'm sorry I don't spend as much time looking your way because there's a camera there. Over here there's humans. So I invite you to, if you want, connect with us on Zoom. And if you go to portlandinsight.org, you can find a link there very near the top of the page to PIMC's online offerings, and there are many. Ellen Bass again. She's a person of great heart. The thing is to love life, even when you have no stomach for it. And everything you've held dear crumbles like burnt paper in your hands, your throat filled with the silt of it. When grief sits with you, its tropical heat thickening the air, heavy as water, more fit for gills than for lungs. When grief weights you like your own flesh, only more of it, an obesity of grief. You think, how can a body withstand this? Then you hold life like a face between your palms, a plain face, no charming smile, no violet eyes, and you say, yes, I will take you. I will love you again. The thing is to love life, to love it even when you have no stomach for it, and everything you've held dear crumbles like burnt paper in your hands, your throat filled with the silt of it. When grief sits with you, its tropical heat thickening the air, heavy as water, more fit for gills than lungs. When grief weights you like your own flesh, only more of it, an obesity of grief. You think, how can a body withstand this? Then hold life like a face between your palms, a plain face, no charming smile, no violet eyes, and you say, yes, I will take you. I will love you again.
What's her name, the poet?
Mary, Ellen Bass.
Ellen Bass.
Yeah. Marvelous poet. Is my video okay? Anything strange about it? No. Okay. Oh, it's small?
Robert, there's a sensor network bandwidth is low. And it's
Well,
making the video really fuzzy.
I don't know if that's, it must be here. How weird.
And Robert, your picture is also delayed slightly.
Well, I guess it's what we got. We're plugged in. Can we live with it?
Sure.
All right. So let's
It
do.
looks kind of like a really bad ventriloquist act because the words come out and then your mouth moves later.
How funny.
It's just kind of funny.
Well, I am a ventriloquist dummy. It's actually my dog Budo that does all the teaching, that I pretend to be. Anyway, things are always falling apart. Always falling apart. We work really hard to create stability and predictability, and then poof. And there's a part of us that thinks it shouldn't be like that. This universe, our home, our great body, began, they say, 14.2 billion years ago with a cataclysmic crash. Out of nothing came everything. And since then, there has been nothing but change. Galaxies formed, galaxies colliding, planets forming, suns blowing up, black holes forming, relationships starting and ending, civilizations coming and going, plagues coming and going. It's really impossible, I guess, to wrap our hearts and minds around the magnitude of the impermanence. It is, I know when I came out of my brain surgery a few months ago, the only words that described the experience meditatively was that impermanence, anicca, is utter. It is utterly true. Every single thing is not a thing. It's a verb. It's a changing phenomenon. In the midst of all this change, this unpredictable change, there are some things that are predictable for some time. One of them is this body that sits here, and within it, the coming and going of the breath. For a time, measured in eye blinks or years, the breath is predictable. It comes and it goes. And so we take our seat. In the midst of it all, and abide in this breath right now. The mind may well wander, and it may wander for 1/10 of a second or 10 minutes. In a way, it doesn't matter how long it is. Each wandering provides the perfect opportunity for waking up. So when you notice this wandering is happening, acknowledge waking up from the trance of everyday life. Sometimes it is emotions or sounds that draw attention. Noticing how every single experience shares a particular characteristic or two. Right up front is impermanence. The truth of the Big Bang is here in this moment. This is the Genesis moment. In the seat of the meditative mind, we watch as phenomena come into being and vanish. Meditation occurs only now. There's this moment, and this is what we really have. What occurs at the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, the feeling body, and the mind. These are all the sense doors. All experience is a magical display in consciousness. Please allow yourself to remember or realize that you are at the exact center of the universe. This mystery of awareness is unchanged by any of the phenomena that occur. How strange that something as simple as just sitting here, being aware of breathing in and breathing out, noticing as sounds come and go, as thoughts and memories and plans come and go. We practice not so we'll become more efficient at our job, Not even so much that our emotions will be more workable. Not even so much about anxiety or physical illness, depression. Deeper down, we practice simply to be here. This is the goal. Right here, right now. This breathing in, this breathing out. Because there is nowhere to go. Please become aware of the boundaries of this that we each take to be our body. There's a living boundary we call the skin. You can feel your hands and fingers. And it appears they end. And beyond that is space. And if you were to allow your body to sway just the tiniest bit, feel into the space around you and realize how completely accepting the space is. There's no resistance. So this that is sensed as separate from the space around it is what we call myself. Notice if there's a mood that accompanies myself. If there are thoughts, worries, plans, memories, also part of what we take to be myself. Hearing sounds. Why not wish this self ease and contentment, strength in going through life with all its changes? Why not aspire to ever-increasing capacities of love and compassion? And then, or now, remembering that we practice in community. Not just the community of this gathering this morning, but the community of all life. May all beings benefit from the merits of our practice. And now please become aware of your body touching the chair, the hands wherever they are, the chest, the neck and face. And notice that the eyes are here resting in their beautifully lubricated sockets. Let them roll around a little bit, stretch this way and that. And then noticing the intention, the willing to let the eyes open, and then let them open ever so gently. Make the effort to peel back the eyelids. And recognize your greater body. Each one of us belongs here completely. Somehow or another, consciousness has taken birth as you. It's been a long journey. In summary, so far from this diagram, the suffering gets to be enough and we set out on the inner journey. We discover that the 5 hindrances are very powerful. We begin to wake up from them and realize that there's something else. We have a meditation object, our breath or a chant or something. We put aside the hindrances. We learn that our behaviors have a giant impact on how we experience life. We engage life. We deal with all the thoughts and feelings and moods and relationships. We do it all mindfully. We develop the 7 enlightenment factors: mindfulness, curiosity, persistence, rapture, concentration, equanimity, and tranquility, and they're developable. We discover that sometimes, anyway, the mind gets quiet, and we are inhabiting what could be called access concentration. And it's called access concentration because that's the moment when we get access to insight. And we can go one of two ways. Most of my training has been this way. There's another path, which is another strategy, which is the jhanas, which I'll speak about someday. But in choiceless awareness, we simply abide in the present moment and watch the world unfold. And this is called insight meditation. And we have, for the structure of that, we have the 4 foundations of mindfulness, which I'll also come back to. And with this mind, which can be clear and concentrated and in equanimity, we begin to study in great depth the truth of anicca, impermanence, the truth of dukkha. Dukkha is a term, it translates as suffering usually. John Tanisaro translates it as stress. Ruth Dennison translated it as Dalink, there's always a leak in the canoe. And the word dukkha actually comes from, if you have an axle in a wheel race and it's spinning very beautifully, and you throw in some grit, that grinding is what dukkha is. And then there's a third characteristic of existence, which is really the core of the Buddhist teaching, which is anatta, which literally means not soul. And so with a mind that is capable of choiceless awareness, of simple presence and observing, we examine more and more and more closely the truth of impermanence, hence the constant repetition of coming back and noticing that experience is impermanent. We notice the unsatisfactory nature of experience. It's always coming and going. Plus there's birth, sickness, old age, decay, and death. And having experiences you don't want to have, or not having the experiences you do want to have. Being with people you don't want to be with, or not being with the person or persons you do want to be with. And shining through it all is the realization that there's nothing stable in here. There's nothing really to put our hat on and say, well, this is myself. And then as these mature, they lead to experiences. Experiences of being the Buddha, of this. Not literally this, but something that is unspeakable or unnameable. And that's the freedom that the Buddha talks about. So that's my little dharmet. There's a lot to the model, and the model itself is not essential. It's just a way of thinking about it. What is essential is that we pause and we turn inward and we spend the time to refresh ourselves by drinking from the great well of ease that is fundamental to our being. Today there will come an announcement about the morning-long 4-hour Saturday morning retreat that Betsy Toll and I will be doing. So I won't speak about that particularly right now, except to invite you to participate. The information will be on the website, on the listserv, and also in the digest, the PIMC digest. So I encourage you to check that out. And also the perennial reminder of the importance of practicing generosity and the possibility of practicing generosity with PIMC. And you just go to the website, portlandinsight.org, and feel into your heart. It's the practice of dana. And it's so normal for me, I sometimes forget. Many people don't understand that dana is an important part of our spiritual lives. And so there's an opportunity, many opportunities in our lives. When something comes along and there's the opportunity to be generous, then we feel inside and say, wow, that feels good. And then we get to actually participate in that. a particular realm of dana practice that I've been engaged in now for years, but I've been doing it more, is there's so often someone sitting outside a 7-Eleven or a wherever, and they're usually young men, but not always, or not even always such young men, and they're often strung out on something, and they're not allowed to go in the store because they've been caught stealing or something. And I really like to pause and say hello to them and ask them what they need. And then to go in and buy them what they need and a bunch more, to get them through that night warm. I know what it's like to not have enough food for overnight. Not that it's happened often, but I was on a winter expedition once in Yellowstone, and we were being picked up in the morning, and we were pretty out of food. And we didn't set up the tents because we were getting picked up at 4 a.m, and we just dug a trench, about a 2-foot or 3-foot deep trench, to be out of the wind. And through the night, having run out of food, it was very interesting to watch the cold creeping in. And these guys I know just live outside. It's quite remarkable. So that's just a very simple way that we can be on the lookout, or we could be on the lookout that our child needs a little extra attention, or a partner, or and always to keep ourselves in the forefront. What is it that you're needing? Not the desire du jour, but what do you really need? And among those things, of course, is we need time to sit, which is the most generous act we can do for the world, for world peace, and for COVID-19 survival, is to stop. So that's my morning announcements, and I invite you to share what you're learning, what the challenges are, and what comes to the heart to share this morning. See if I can turn on my sound. There we go. So please unmute yourself if you wish to speak, and we'll go from there. Oh, I just see Steve Burkhart. Day 2. I'm clean. It's hard at times. I want the distraction of the news, the entertainment.
Yes, me too. Can you hear me?
I hear you fine, yeah.
Yeah. So it's been great to step away and really evaluate, in a way, what need am I trying to fill?
Yep.
With that, and what do I really need to know, and how frequently do I need to know that?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm not going to be absent from the information about what's going on, but it's becoming a lot more clear that I need so much less than I consume.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going, and I think I like to watch NPR evening news on Friday because it's a summary. I mean PBS, I'm sorry. And we'll go from there.
Thank you for the inspiration.
Yeah, thank you.
Aren't these silences lovely? 75 people right now, or 73, sitting in silence. Holy bejeebies. How incredible. The Quakers were onto something.
Robert? It's John.
I hear a voice. Hang on.
It's John.
Hello, John.
I just want to, I don't speak much here, but I've been a regular attendee.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to thank you for bringing us all together. I feel like there's been a wonderful, unexpected abundance during this time of, you might almost say, sensory deprivation. We're all staying home. We're not in our normal workaday lives, but this has been a wonderful opening for me. I've gained a lot of clarity and vision on who I was before.
Huh.
And I told my daughter the other day in a phone conversation that I don't want to go back to the way I was before. That I see how then I was grounded in self, a sense of self-importance, and moving around at a fast clip from meeting to meeting or event to event. And during these quiet times, meditating with the Sangha and just being at home, I've realized that there's an abundance in this sitting and this being quiet and being inward. It's not a negative. It's not running away from the world. I think it's being more in the moment. And so I just want to thank you for doing this and thank everybody for being here every day. Thanks.
Beautifully put. Thank you so much.
I agree, John. This feels very much, has a lot of the attributes for me of a retreat. Having to be someplace quickly, the things that distract, and suddenly I'm at home and it's just me, well, and my wife. But even that, we're suddenly spending a lot more time together and not being distracted from those aspects of togetherness that keep us from being as aware as we could be. So I've been challenging myself to see this as something of a retreat.
Me too. Thanks, David. Is it warm there now?
Actually not. It's the last 3 or 4 days. It's barely gotten to 65. I'm Richmond, Virginia, and it's been raining a lot the last few days, and so it's turning humid. I expect it's going to become the South very soon.
Thank you.
Robert. Good morning, Songa. It's Jessica here.
Hello, Jessica.
Hi.
And Michael.
I know, I need to change my screen name. His says Jessica and Michael on his. My laptop is very egocentric. Which is so ironic because what I wanted to speak to was, I think one of the things that this quarantining, I think has helped me appreciate is really holding space. And I don't mean that, and I know it can be an overused term, but kind of that holding space both for the emotions that come up in me, the moods that come up in me, and holding that for Michael, but also in that bigger sense when you read and understand so many other people are going through so many real trials and fears and risks and pains. And rather than my prior habit of wanting to fix it or how can I help or just, not that that's not good intention, but just being able to be with it and respect that sometimes just being with it and really, really, really holding that space. And I guess for me, it's finally maybe beginning to understand that what that means when someone says hold space. I think I'm starting to get that a little bit, and it's really powerful. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Since we're quiet this morning, I'd like to end with a simple intention practice. The Buddha spoke about karma, the teaching on karma, as the light of the world, because it's through intentional action that we shape ourselves and our destiny. And intention before we act, there's a certain knowing we're going to act. And if we are attentive to that, we can make remarkable choices. Should I say this? Do I want to say this or not, really? Or do I do this or not? Do I think this or not? Do I turn toward this emotion and let it blossom, or is this something I will turn away from and let it decline? And so, in this moment, there may be things you know you're going to do today. You have, quote, plans. Why not imagine yourself doing whatever you do today with intention? If you're going to wash the dishes, to pause before washing the dishes and notice, okay, I'm going to wash dishes. I could be aware of doing this. There's an intention of awareness. Or if you're going for a walk, you could, before going, when you're putting on your shoes or your boots, notice, I'm intending to go for a walk. And then you could ask yourself the question, is this a wholesome intention? Is this going to nourish me and my loved ones and, in fact, all beings in the world? Or could this be of detriment? So it's this moment of decision that we make, usually unconsciously. But the more mindful we are, the more capable we are of doing it intentionally. And it's interesting to review. There was this I haven't thought of him in the longest time. His name was Ratnakara. I forget his first name. One of my friends brought him from Sri Lanka. He was a lay teacher. He and his wife came. They came once, and we spent a week with them at the beach. And then he went home and died. He was he was rather elderly, in his 70s. But they taught an interesting practice, which is to create in the morning an intention to practice intentionally, and to reflect on the things that you'll be doing and kind of prepare yourself that I will be intentionally awake during that time. And then at the end of the day, they did a review, which was to start in the morning at first waking up and then see how many moments you can remember. How many moments were you awake during the day? And the moments, of course, grow over time, over weeks, months, years of practice. But it's an interesting contemplative way to increase how much mindfulness we bring to life. So Ratnakara, I had a T-shirt it's a long time ago. My friend had T-shirts made, the Ratnakara World Tour. And he was in Chicago and Portland, but it was very lovely. And Manzanita. So with that, it's 8:02. Is anybody sitting with anything that would like to be spoken now before we end with our song? Hello, Susan. Long time no see. How lovely.
Hi, Robert.
Hi there.
I've been here, but without camera usually.
Oh, well, how nice to see you.
Thank you. Challenging. I missed most of you this week, except for Monday and Sunday because of work scheduling. And
gets in the way, doesn't it?
Yeah, not much. it's been a real privilege, and more, especially in this space. What has been bubbling up for me is resonating with the poem that you shared by Ellen Bass, and I'm going to turn my camera onto this watercolor, which I received when I was in Nepal, and can you see it?
I can see something there, yes.
So the poem reminded me of this Buddha who remains in the light amidst the devastation of the earthquake that occurred in Nepal some years ago.
Yeah.
And I was there 1 year after the earthquake for an event in celebration of emerging from the rubble and the ashes. And this was a series of watercolors that was painted by a friend of a colleague of mine, and I have it. It's kind of twisted and on the wall in my room because I haven't posted it clearly enough or straightened it enough, and I kind of enjoy that it almost on a daily basis I have to straighten it and remind myself that there's a way to be present in the midst of chaos.
Oof. Amen.
So, as from others, thank you for this special time we're having with Sangha and with you. And I have been thinking all week about last Thursday or Friday when you talked about thinking about the beauty of the wildness and the wilderness. And as I sit here in my small floating home on the south end of the Salish Sea, one of the beauties that I have to enjoy on a moment-to-moment basis is watching the tide rise and fall. And we are now close to high tide, and we'll be sliding down to the bottom of the bowl soon.
Do you get rocked around a little bit, or is it just stable?
Yesterday, tremendously so.
Oh.
We had west wind that I could feel underneath me and on top of me with the rain and bouncing around.
How fun.
Yeah. When it's not frightening, it's fun. And yesterday it was more than ever, and I wasn't frightened, so I enjoyed it.
May your moorings always hold tight. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Well, anything else stirring before we go, my dear ones? So have a wonderful day with clarity of intention and mindfulness. And thank you to those of you on YouTube and Facebook and Ustream. Thanks for checking in. Before long, I'm going to have a blog that will have the audio of these mornings available that you can subscribe to. It's in process. All right, I'm going to unmute. Unmute all. There we are. Ready? Hi, kids. Where are you?
What's going on?
May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. You know, I often think of a howl at the end of this. I propose that we have a howl as well. You want a howl? to all of our fellow beings of the animal world. Goodbye. Such fun. Ooh, bye-bye. Mm-hmm. Hello, dear Kyra. Oh, hang on just a second. I forgot something. I need to sign off on the YouTube